Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of Talking Halos. I am your host today, Jared Timms, and I am joined alongside my co-hosts, my partners in crime, Nate Green and John Craine. Nate, take your face off the screen. John, how you doing?
Hey, pretty good, pretty good. It's been a big week for me. I acquired the holy grail of my small collection
Yeah, you
of
got to tell.
mostly
You got to tell the
bobbleheads.
story now. You got to tell the story now. It's pretty cool.
I have to tell the whole story?
You can tell whatever part of the story you'd like, but it's a pretty cool story. I mean, who you
Well,
talk to and
just,
such like that, and what you
oh
got.
yeah, well, yeah. I think I've mentioned this on the first podcast years ago with Derek, but my kids, my daughter's fifth grade field trip at their school is behind the scenes tour of Angel Stadium. So they get to go to Angel Stadium. Everybody gets hats and they get to go. My daughter sat next to Torrey Hunter's locker. They take you into the locker room, which they say nobody goes into, but they let the kids go in there and nobody's supposed to touch anything, but we got some pictures and then they get to run the bases. They get to tour behind. He takes them. They see the trophy case, and then to me, the best part of the whole dang thing is when they're in the locker room and Tim Mead speaks to them. Because Tim Mead is just, he gives them wisdom that they're probably too young to absorb at that time in the fifth grade. Because I actually asked my daughter. Yes, my 23-year-old daughter, I said, what do you remember much about what Tim Mead told you? And she's all, no. And I go, yeah, it's kind of wasted on you, but he gives a lot of life advice in there about women. You don't have to be, women are involved. Well, even now it's much even vaster, just because you're not a man doesn't mean you can't be a part of baseball, all the opportunities that you can do. He talks about social media, how that can haunt you. And, so I've always so I got two field trips because I got two daughters 4 years apart. And I always made my way over and kind of, stood next to Mr. Mead and always asked him, it was just honored to meet him. Such a delightful guy. When he was with the team, if you saw Ohtani, he was walking right next to Ohtani just about every time because he was kind of, long story short, I've always just kind of, shot him, tagged him in things. As a result, he just gifted me with a Mike Trout baseball. Sent me a text sent me a message to Twitter, and I was beyond flattered, So it's the prize of my collection now. I have a Mike Trout signed baseball.
100%. 100%. I mean, first off, Mike Trout, the GOAT. I think we all know that.
Yeah.
Tim Mead, though, the GOAT, though. Like Tim Mead is the best person that nobody knows about. Without a doubt. Best person in baseball that more people know about him now. But before he was the president of the Hall of Fame, the best person that nobody knew about. Tim is, he was the Angels before, the Angels were a thing. Like, if you know the background behind Tim Mead, you know anything about Tim, fantastic person. A fantastic career guy. Like I said, fantastic Angels employee and such like that. But an even better human being.
Humble human being. Yeah, because I shower him with. I know it embarrasses him because I ran into him at a baseball. I ran into a baseball guy. I ran into him in spring training. I ran into him at the movies in Brea, California. Believe it or not, I turn around and he's in line behind me with his wife. That man, you can't tell him what a good person he is to his face because it just gets and you know how I love to take pictures of people. I've never felt comfortable asking him for a picture because I think it would make him feel awkward. And one other Tim Mead story. So I worked for AAA, and I had a short stint in the Diamond Bar branch. So Mr. Mead, he lives somewhere in the area, obviously, because the area that I live, and so I'm sitting at my desk, and all of a sudden I look out in the lobby and I see Tim Mead sitting out there wearing a T-shirt and shorts. Nobody. So I walk out there and I go, "Hey, Mr. Mead." I go, "How are you?" You know, I say my name right off the bat. I never expect him to remember my name. I mean, I'm just a guy who's met about 6 times now. I go, "Mr. Mead, you know, how you doing?" I sit down and we talk. We talk about my social. We talk. Probably talk to him about 10, 15 minutes. And then I go, "What are you here for?" I thought he was there for DMV services. He's all, "Well, I just need someone to take pictures of my car," which would be my job. so, so I go, "Oh, let me get that taken care of for you." So then we go outside, and it was this car the Angels bought him, and it's a nice car. The Angels bought it for him, and again, he seemed embarrassed and humbled by the car he was driving. Not he earned it. I mean, you know, and the Angels, you know, there's no reason to be humbled or embarrassed by it. But but that's just Tim Mead. The guy is just, like I said, I've seen him a million times, never got a picture with him because I don't feel comfortable asking him for a picture.
The best human being in baseball. I'll just say it now. He's without. I really think he is. Like, I mean, there can be arguments made, but Tim Mead's the best human being in baseball. He really is. Like, just as humble as he gets. The background behind Tim Mead. Like, I mean, you talked to him enough. He gave me my first opportunity, you know, in baseball. Got to cover. I just randomly sent him a message. "Hey, can I cover this game?" He's like, "Sure." You know, you're nobody big, but you know there'll be people behind you watching. And like, obviously, I was with Taylor Blake Ward at the time, and Taylor kind of shadowed me too, so that probably helped out a little bit because Taylor's, you know, a good name to have. But yeah, you know, like I said, Tim gave me my opportunity. I kept calling him Mr. Mead. I was like, "Hey, Mr. Mead, thank you. I really do appreciate this." As like a 21-year-old Mead, I appreciate it. You know, and he actually messaged me. He was like, "You know, call me Mr. Mead anymore. Just call me Tim." And I'm like, "All right, like it's fine. Like it's weird, like, but that's fine. Like I'll call you Tim. I'll call you Tim." But yeah, Tim Mead is the best human being in baseball. Another fantastic story of why he is. Like, I mean, he's unbelievable. He is the class act, as good as it gets. He really is as good as it gets. And Nate, I didn't forget about you. I know we talked about Tim Mead here for a couple minutes, but you know, anytime Tim Mead gets brought up, you have to like I said, just an unbelievable human being. He really, really is. He gave me my first start in baseball as well. So when it comes to the reporting side of things, so I am always, you know, eternally grateful to him. And he is, again, one of the most amazing human beings in the sport. So Nate, let's get on to you. How you doing?
Yeah, no, that's fair. It's fair. Glad to be here. Happy. You know, always love to be second.
All right.
I just like giving Jared a hard time. Otherwise, it's no fun.
Well, you know, I'm just disappointed in your enthusiasm. John comes on and is extremely excited to talk about Angels baseball and Tim Mead and what we're going to talk about today. And then you just toilet down the drain. And Mike, there it is. Mike Trout,
nice.
autograph baseball.
For the people watching on YouTube.
People watching. Yeah, for the people watching. Yeah. John, yes. That's awesome. That's so cool. Like, you can't say enough about Tim Mead. Like he's an unbelievable human being. He really, really is. It's awesome. And he's one of those people you can sit with. You can probably sit with him for days and like just talk baseball and not get tired of it. Like days, years. Like he's got so many great stories. Like you already know.
I'll just one more before you get to because and this is a story I heard Trent Rush tell on the radio after the thing, and I think it was after he was leaving for the Hall of Fame, and Trent Rush says he was. You know, he offered him a ride to wherever they were going. They were going to something, and said, "Trent, come on with me." He gave him a ride, and in the car, they're talking to each other, and the phone and Tim Mead's phone rings, and it says Mike Trout, and Trent's like, and then he just deletes it. He just cancels it, you know. And then it rings again, Trout. And I mean, you'd have to, like, if you ever see Trent Rush, ask him the story. It's like, I think it's 3 or 4 times. And Trent's like, you know, I think you should answer that. You know? He kept talking, no, I don't want to interrupt the story. I don't want to, you know, no, come on, keep talking. He's telling Trent, keep talking. Man. I don't want to, you know, I mean, that's how, and Mike Trout's calling him on the phone. And he finally says, "Dude, you got to answer the phone. Come on."
Oh man, that's great. That's awesome. 2 people I really got to get on the show, and I'll, you know, like I've been talking about the takeover. Those are 2 people that I will for sure message. So if one of them are listening to it, I apologize. I will message you at some point. Not that any of those guys listen to it, but yeah, I'd love to get those guys. Those, like I said, both those guys extremely knowledgeable. I've worked some games with Trent. I did the All-Star game in Inland Empire with Trent, and that was a lot of fun. Absolute blast. He's a fountain of knowledge as well. So guys, you know it. I know it. We all know it. I like to start this podcast off with a question of the day. Nate, I already told you. John, you're hearing this for the first time. what is our favorite type of pizza? We are really going out there. We're branching out right now, guys. There are a lot of different types of pizza. Why I'm asking this is because I get a pizza delivered every Valentine's Day from Chicago style pizza from Giordano's. They ship it to me. Me and my fiance, actually her parents do, so I don't do it, but fantastic pizza. Probably some of the best pizza I've ever had. Deep dish. Deep dish is the style that I like. I figured I'd ask you guys so we can, kind of get this show rolling with a little bit of interesting topics. So John, what's your favorite type of pizza? You a thin crust
So
guy?
we're not talking. Yeah, I'm definitely a thin crust, New York style pizza. I am perfectly content with double pepperoni. I just pile on the pepperoni. Any meats, you can add sausage, I'm fine. You can add bacon, I'm fine. You can add meatballs. Don't really bring a lot for me, but I'll certainly eat it with the meatballs. Once you go veggie or you go start messing around with the pineapple and stuff like that, you've lost me. And just as an observation, I can't tell you how many parties. This is a pet peeve of mine, because you have a family party and they order pizzas and they order the Supreme and they order this and this. Well, the people who eat the Supreme, they also grab the pepperoni. So you end up with, if you order multiple pizzas, you're always going to end up with the Supreme is left, and the guy who only eats pepperoni goes home hungry.
I know. My fiance loves the all the toppings on it, and I hate it. I can't do it. Not a fan of that. Yeah. And she always she's like, let's get a pizza like that. And I'm like, absolutely not. We're not doing that. I won't eat it. Like, Jesus got pepperonis on it. No, it's not the same. I don't want to pick everything out. It's got pepperoni different. And sausage on it. It's like, yeah, it also has onions and tomatoes and bell peppers and all this stuff that I don't like on my pizza. I just want a good pizza. So, yeah, I'm with you on that one. Nate, what do you got? You've had some time to think about this. Correct answer?
Yeah, no. Yeah, this is a correct answer for sure. It's homemade on the Traeger. Salami and sausage. It's outstanding. I think after going homemade on the Traeger, I think I'd rather have that than getting a Domino's pizza or anything like that. It's been that good. So once you go homemade on the Traeger, don't look back.
I'm gonna get a Traeger. I'll give it a try. I'll let you know what I think about it when I get my own Traeger. So, guys, as always, thank you so much for listening to this podcast and listening to us banter about random things, because we really don't have baseball to talk about right now. Though I really love hearing John's stories, because I know that he is also a fountain of information for us here, and I love hearing it all. So, guys, if you could subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening to it, leave us a review, whether it's good or bad. You can follow myself on Twitter at Jared_Timms. You can follow Nate at NateGreen34 and John at Jags Craine John. So, guys, let's get to the topic that I really, really wanted to talk about. I don't know what kind of got this going, that I started looking through old transactions of the Angels, but I think someone mentioned maybe like a Vernon Wells type of trade or something like that. And I'm like,
I think you and I mentioned the Ricky Nolasco trade.
Something like that. And I started looking through, and the Angels transaction list, and I was like, oh, let's talk about this tonight. Not present trades that we want to see happen, but older trades that we can maybe discuss and see maybe if we can come to a conclusion of who some of the winners were on some of these trades, or if they're good trades, bad trades. Now that we're 5-10 years down the road from these trades, and some of these players aren't even on the Angels. So the first one that I want to talk about, and we can probably just pick a winner on this one, because both of these guys aren't playing in with the Angels anymore. However, one of them is in Major League still, and that's Chris Iannetta for Tyler Chatwood straight up. Do you guys remember this trade?
Yes.
John, do you remember?
That's out of my ballpark there.
All right.
I don't know the Tyler guy. I know the other guy.
Tyler Chatwood, yes. I think he's on the Cubs now. Yeah. Maybe not. I don't know where he's at.
Free agent. I believe he was with the Blue Jays last.
Yeah. He had some good seasons though. But Chris Iannetta, probably a future manager of Major League Baseball. I've been told he's one of the smartest guys around by a lot of people. Nate, I guess it's going to be kind of you and I discussing this trade, since John's not too in on this one. So who's the winner of this trade, Nate?
Ooh, this is a tough one. Iannetta didn't hit as well as we thought he was going to with the Angels. Chatwood also had 2 Tommy John surgeries post-trade with the Angels. So odds you could call this a tie, a wash. I don't really think there's a winner or a loser, honestly. I mean, the Angels were able to get some catching depth, which is always a big thing for them. And at the point where they traded Tyler Chatwood, they had a lot of pitching depth. So it was not a typical, last 5-7 years Angels where they needed a lot of pitching. So I would say wash.
I'm with you on that, except for I don't think Chatwood really ever played for the Angels. So I'm going to give the edge to Chris Iannetta, who was a starting catcher for the Angels, and a good one at that. He manned a pitching staff that wasn't the best at the time, but, it was a good, he's a good catcher. He's a very good defensive catcher, and he's a very smart player, and it wouldn't surprise me if he was a manager. So next trade here, John, let's hope this is in your range of things. Irvin Santana for Brandon Sisk. Do you remember the Irvin Santana trade, John?
Yeah, I know who Irvin Santana is. I have a bobblehead of him. So I'm going to say that's a win for us.
Well, Brandon Sisk did not play for the Angels ever. The Angels traded away Brandon Sisk.
We traded
the Angels traded away Irvin Santana.
Oh,
the Kansas City
we
Royals.
Lost.
Yeah.
That was coming off a tough year for Irvin Santana. I think a lot of people wanted Irvin Santana's head for a little while. And then the Angels went out and traded him for Brandon Sisk. I just wanted to bring this one up just because I thought it was a really interesting one. Irvin Santana went on to the Royals, went on to, I think, win a World Series with the Royals. Maybe. So that is to be determined on that one. But still playing in the major leagues, I think that was kind of a disappointing trade on all ends, losing Irvin Santana, even though he had a tough season. So next one here.
So just for a second.
Yes.
Hold on. So you're saying that Angel fans wanted a pitcher's head?
Yes.
That's rare. That's rare.
100%. No, you're 100% right on this. There was a time when the Angels had too many pitchers.
There was.
Believe it or not, there was a time, and this was the time because I don't remember if you look at the Angels rotation during that time, and don't quote me on this because I'm sure I'm going to be wrong. C.J. Wilson, Jared
Weaver, Wilson, Santana were for sure the top
Joe
three.
Saunders
was in there. Heron was in the mix at that time.
Yep.
They had a lot of pitching, and they had some young guys too, right around the corner who they had some high hopes for. So
Zach Greinke, I think, might have been in the mix for half a season there as well.
Yeah, he boogied out.
Yep. Yeah, but
I have all those bobbleheads you just named.
So do I. So
Crone, Heron, yeah.
But yeah, there. Yes, John. To your point, there was a time when the Angels actually had too much pitching. Like, just kind of a side note on and Angels fans wanting pitcher's head, and that's kind of been a theme for a while. There was a time when the Angels had too much pitching, which is really, really interesting. So, Nate, are you looking anything up? Do you want to say anything?
I am. I'm looking up the year that Santana was with the Royals, 2013, which I don't believe was the year of the Royals. That was the year of the Cardinals. So he did not win a World Series with them.
That is unfortunate, but yeah, no, definitely a tough trade for the Angels there. Again, just looking at trades of the past here for the Angels. Next one that I want to bring up, this is actually kind of an interesting one, I think, on all aspects. Kendrick Morales for Jason Vargas. And this is the way that I look at this trade, that I got told to look at this trade at the time and even in the future. It was the most average hitter in baseball for the most average pitcher in baseball, which I think is a fair thing. So, John, what is your say on this? I know that you remember the Jason Vargas times. You remember the Kendrick Morales times, even though he got hurt. What do you got on this? Do you remember? Do you like it? Did you not like it?
I'm looking up here.
Let's see. Let's go to Nate then. Nate, what do you got? Do you like this trade? Do you not like this trade?
I think this was right after the Angels signed Albert Pujols, correct? Like maybe a year after?
Yeah.
So,
yes, I think so.
So, yeah, that was one of those ones where, like, Morales had been, like, one of the most fun hitters in baseball to watch before he broke his leg and things like that. Yep. And then he came back from that, and he wasn't himself. I think, like, he was still good, but he wasn't, the MVP where, we thought he could have been coming off that breakout season before he broke his leg. And I think the Angels did need a pitcher at that time. I think they had just lost somebody. I don't remember off the top of my head. Actually, I think that was when we traded Irvin Santana away.
Yep. It might have been right around in that same time.
That was the same year we traded Irvin Santana away, because Santana's year was 2013. Vargas' first year with the Angels was 2013. So it was almost like we trade Irvin Santana away and Kendrick Morales for Jason Vargas. But yeah, that was an interesting trade for sure. I don't remember being exactly thrilled with Jason Vargas because I never thought he was that good of a pitcher. Like at the time, the Angels were hoping to replace Irvin Santana, and I always liked Irvin Santana. I thought he always had an amazing ceiling. It was just the floor that was kind of iffy. He could go out there and look like a AAA pitcher. He could go out there and look like a Cy Young Award winner. And I was willing to roll the dice with the Cy Young Award winner because I had seen that more times than the AAA pitcher. So that one was tough. And Jason Vargas was just kind of that 88-mile-an-hour guy who just hopefully got outs. And it was like you always were hoping that he was pitching at night and not in the afternoon when balls were flying.
Absolutely. John, what do you have to say about this?
He was 9. So he's 9-8 the year we had him. His best year after that was 4 years later where he was 18-11. Otherwise, he was a below 500, close to 500 or below 500 pitcher. So I'll go with Morales.
Yeah.
I'll take Morales over that.
Again, Morales coming off the injury. I think the Angels had just signed Albert Pujols at the time. C.J. Wilson again in the mix as well there. And the Angels had a plethora of pitching, it felt like, at the time. I think we just mentioned, I know they needed just that fifth guy in Jason Vargas. If I remember correctly, I mean, this has been a while, so I don't know. It's interesting. Nate, I feel like you have to say something to say.
No. I was just going to say former Jared Weaver teammate at Long Beach State.
Yep, two-way at Long Beach State as well there. So let's move forward a little bit more. I have a fun trade here for you guys. John, I don't think you're going to know this trade. Nate, you probably don't even remember this trade, but there are some familiar names in it. Matt Scioscia for Trevor Gretzky.
I do remember that trade, actually.
John, how do you like that one? Yes, Mike Scioscia's son was drafted.
These are children. Said we traded Scioscia away?
The Angels traded Matt Scioscia to the Cubs for Wayne Gretzky's son, Trevor Gretzky.
Nah. Anytime you get rid of a Scioscia, it's trouble for me. So I don't know. That's a bad trade. I think when you mentioned Vernon Wells, I thought we were going to talk about bad trades. So but that makes the Vernon Wells trade look good.
That's too easy. That's too easy of a trade. That's too easy of a topic here. Vernon Wells. I mean, I think we know the outcome of the Vernon Wells trade at the end of the day. But yeah, I just thought it was funny. I kind of forgot about the Matt Scioscia for Trevor Gretzky trade. It was actually like big news at the time. I think SportsCenter picked it up, and like everybody had picked it up. It was crazy because everybody's like, Mike Scioscia's kid, the manager of the team, got traded for Wayne Gretzky's kid. That's just, you don't see it happen very often. Actually, I don't know if that's ever happened before where, two high profile guys' sons got traded for each other. So I just thought that was kind of an interesting trade. So let's move forward a little bit more here and we're going to move into the 2020s and forward from there. So let's talk about the Dylan Bundy trade right now. So it was Dylan Bundy to the Angels for Isaac Mattson, Kyle Bradish, Kyle Bronovich, and Zach Peak. Now, John, I know you don't know those names. Nate, I'm sure you probably don't know those names either. Little recap on this. Isaac Mattson is a reliever for the Orioles right now. Kyle Bradish is a top 10 prospect, depending on who you talk about, in the O system. Kyle Bronovich and Zach Peak are also both top 30 prospects, depending on who you talk about. Probably relievers here in the future. So I don't know if we can say who's won that yet, but knowing, I think you kind of can, after Dylan Bundy's year last year and the Angels not really getting anything for return for him in a sense. Like they didn't go to the playoffs, didn't do anything. They gave up 4 pitchers, somebody who's probably a top 10 prospect for the Angels, if not higher, in Kyle Bronovich, a reliever in Isaac Mattson. I think that this is kind of an easy one here, guys, right? Nate,
Baltimore wins.
I think Baltimore wins this one. John, do you have any say in this one? What do you got?
I just remember being so high on Bundy after the first year, but then he just fell apart. So, yeah, I mean, and of course, that was when we were getting pitchers which I guess we're still kind of doing, like he pitches innings. He'll pitch innings. We won't have to get, he'll pitch past the 5th inning, which he did the first year, but then the second year.
I think people forget Dylan Bundy, 60-game season, Take it for what it's worth. Dylan Bundy was one of the best pitchers in baseball in that 60-game season.
Yes, he was.
I know everybody's probably looking at us and like it was 60-game season. And Nate, we've talked enough crap on the 60-game season. It's not a real season, but I mean, Dylan Bundy was a legitimate pitcher, and you had high hopes for him. And getting Dylan Bundy out of Baltimore, again, another big thing. It was like, getting anybody out of Baltimore is a good thing. We saw with Alex Cobb. We'll see if the Angels go and try to make another trade. Alex, I know, Nate, you were not a huge Alex Cobb guy. I thought he had a really good year last year. I mean, if you really want to discuss this, who had a better year? Was it 2020 Dylan Bundy or last year's Alex Cobb, Nate?
2020 Dylan Bundy, he threw innings. Alex Cobb threw 90 innings. He didn't even throw 100 innings.
I think they had the same WAR. I give it to you. Dylan Bundy did have a better season in.
Yeah, they had the same WAR in a 60-game season compared to a 162-game season. Yeah, I get it.
Very similar innings.
Very similar innings, but we were asking for 60 games, not 162 games. Alex Cobb gave us 12 starts? Great. That's just fantastic. That's why we finished.
What trade looks what trade looks worse right now? The Angels gave up Jahmai Jones.
The Bundy one looks worse, absolutely, but that's because I don't think Jahmai Jones would have played for the Angels. So I don't think that was a big loss at the time where you're giving away 4 pitchers. And I'm a huge, when you're making trades like that, I like to get multiple pieces. I would rather get 4 pieces and hope 1 or 2 of them works than get one really good piece and hope the one guy works, because the odds on 4 guys, one of the guys hitting out of 4 are pretty high compared to one guy hitting out of 1. So even if he is a much better player, I would rather get 4 guys.
I think we've talked about this before where we have talked about this. So on to the next trade. And this is the one that started me thinking about trades is I saw Will Wilson today. And the Angels trade Zach Cozart and first-round pick Will Wilson to the San Francisco Giants for a player to be named later. That player to be named later was Garrett Williams. Background behind this story now, because I feel like a lot of people don't understand this. They went on to attempt to get Garrett Cole and Steven Strasburg. Obviously, the Angels didn't get to do that, but they did go and get Anthony Rendon with the money that they saved, in a sense. I know, and they also signed some pitching that was okay, but you look at it in the future. I don't know. You don't know what Will Wilson is. You can go look at Will Wilson's stats, and they haven't been good in the minors.
He's a utility infielder.
Yeah, but you look at what the Giants have done with prospects. It scares me. It does, because they might be able to turn Will Wilson into that first-round pick. So, John, I ask you, how did you feel about trading a first-round pick and Zach Cozart, which was basically a $12 million salary dump, in order to attempt to sign Garrett Cole and Steven Strasburg? And this was actually at a time that we were doing the podcast too, John. I remember being on the podcast and we'd talk about this, because Derek was very much so in on signing a third baseman at the time. He was, if I remember correctly, he was like, don't second guess the Angels. The Angels need a third baseman. The Angels need a third baseman. And they went out and they missed on Garrett Cole. They missed on Steven Strasburg, 2 big name pitching free agents that year. And they ended up signing Anthony Rendon, which wasn't a bad thing. And of course we have to tip the cap to Derek, because he's right. Even though we hate doing that because it's Derek, but no, I'm kidding. But John, what is your feeling on this trade and then the events that happened after this with Anthony Rendon?
I do remember the Cozart trade, and I really liked Cozart until the year they got him, because his salary was kind of until the year they traded him. Excuse me. And because he was also injured, quite wasn't he? He
hurt himself diving. I think he dislocated his shoulder, if I'm not mistaken, or tore his rotator cuff, and he just wasn't the same guy after that, unfortunately. Really good player, for sure, but just wasn't the same guy.
So what you're telling me is that it ultimately ended up to getting Rendon. So I guess if you're talking about Rendon's still a mystery, like if he's really going to pay off. I mean, Rendon has to show up. Rendon has to have a Washington national season, and I think this is a huge win for us. That's how it resulted. But I agree with you. The Giants you're right. The Giants do know what to do with their prospects, and so far we haven't really proven that we really know how to do stuff.
Yeah. So that's again when I start thinking, like it's not a bad thing to trade prospects. Like I'm a huge fan of I'm a huge fan of keeping the prospects around, like especially if they're going to do things like Joe Adele, Brandon Marsh, that type of thing. And Nate, I know you're giving me that face.
What?
But when the Angels haven't been able to produce, and you see guys that you see teams that have been able to produce, go and trade some of those prospects for players that are going to be good right now. Kind of an interesting thing. So let's get on to our last trade here. We're going to kind of flip the coin. I know, Nate. I know it's different for me.
I wasn't even huge on the Will Wilson draft pick, honestly. So that was kind of a weird one.
That can be a different story. And I kind of know the background behind that story. So that can be.
Yeah. No, we've talked about that, I believe, off the record as well.
Yeah.
If they didn't make it to the big A, then they're kind of like, well, now I go to the, I can get
now you have to know who they are, John. So
yeah,
I don't think he ever played in Inland Empire though either. I don't think he ever made it that high for the Angels. So last trade that we're going to talk about, kind of an interesting trade. Andrew Heaney for Howie Kendrick. I think this changed a lot of things. I see both of you guys shaking your heads and doing it.
Winner, Dodgers.
All right. Yes, we can go to that. John, I want your feelings on this trade.
As a human being, I love Andrew Heaney. Just a good guy. And the whole Skaggs thing, I just looked at him and I just felt nothing but empathy for him. You know me, saw him at spring training, asked him to take a picture. He took a picture with me, smiled, very nice. I mean, nobody was rooting more for Andrew Heaney than me, but all the years of potential, and not just him, all the other potentials that still haven't punched out. I got to say, I was relieved when he was traded. So for the aggravation that he caused me, just frustration, not aggravation, because I don't want to say I'm mad at him, because I do like him. I think he's a good person. But for the frustration he caused, I would have to go. We lost that one.
Very, very parent answer there for me, John. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Well, he's a good guy. I mean, I don't know what he does in his private life, but he did he did stop and take a picture with me, and he's a good guy. He's a good guy, and
fantastic human being.
Yeah, exactly.
Just wish it would have worked out on the pitching side of things a little bit more. I mean, we saw the potential. Nate, I like Andrew Heaney. I've always wanted him to succeed. You know that. So, yeah. Nate, to finish this off, give us your 2 cents on it. I want to hear it.
Just remember, Jared also likes Justin Upton. So, for those of you listening, he also likes Justin Upton. But the Dodgers clearly won this trade. They absolutely roasted us on this one. I was a huge Howie Kendrick fan. One of our really good prospects that we brought up, Jared, I'm sorry, it was just too easy. But yeah, Howie Kendrick was supposed to be the next Angels batting champ, and he had actually shown signs of being really, really good. He had played really well for the Angels, and I feel like we traded for Andrew Heaney at a time where he had pitched like half a season in Miami, and we just got super excited that he had pitched kind of decent. And it was kind of like what he normally was. He was like a mid-4 ERA, maybe a high 3 ERA, and just kind of like average stuff. And the Angels were hoping that he would turn the page, and it was like, I don't know if he had really even developed at that time. It was like, he just got called up.
But he was a top 15 prospect in baseball at the time too.
No, he was absolutely. But it's just like if somebody were to trade for one of our pitching prospects and just be like, he pitched in the bigs a little bit last year, and he showed signs of kind of being good. So we're just going to roll the dice and give you a proven player who's hit 290 to 300 every year with 15 to 20 bombs, and we're just going to hope that he turns out to be good. That was kind of, I don't know. I'm really glad though that Howie Kendrick came back and bit the Dodgers in the butt later with that home run with the Nationals. That just made it full circle. I was happy, but very, very upset to see him go. And yeah, I was not a huge Andrew Heaney fan on the mound. He's my Mr. 4 1/3. 2.5 times through the lineup, 3 runs, and great job, 4 1/3.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I remember too many games where I'm just hoping that Andrew Heaney could make it to the fifth. And too many times he didn't make it to the fifth. And I just have, and that's why I could just, that was Sosha. And I mean, as much as I love Sosha, I was always critical of how early he would go. Well, I was critical of how early he'd go to the bullpen with Ohtani. But because, I mean, at the time, I wasn't a big fan of the bullpen either. But that's great. Can I ask you a question, guys, if you have any thoughts on this? Was there money involved? Why did the Yankees trade for him?
I think they saw the upside. I know that that's like a bad answer. I think they saw the upside and saw something that they were like, "Ooh, let's try to tweak this a little bit." I think they saw the possibilities of, they weren't going to be giving up much, though. Jansen Junk is a potential starter, probably a bullpen guy at some point for the Angels, and Ivan Armstrong, the other guy, the Angels. Oh no, it wasn't Armstrong. Who else did they get? Junk and wow, I can't believe I'm missing on who this was. It wasn't Marte. It wasn't. I don't know. I gotta go back.
Normally, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I personally think that the Yankees were in a spot where they were trying to acquire players because they needed to make the playoffs, and they needed to trade for a starting pitcher, and they didn't have to pay for any salary with the Angels trade, which I think was a big thing. That was something the Yankees were trying to do a lot last year, was make trades without giving up money and still be competitive. And they were just hoping that Heaney could do enough to keep them in the playoff race. So when they got to the playoffs and they got Severino back and they had Garrett Cole and they went to the playoffs, it was like, hey, Andrew, thanks for everything you did, but you're probably not going to be on the playoff roster because we're getting Severino back. We're going to get Garrett Cole, pitching 3 times in a 5-game series and things like that. So I think that's personally what it was, but Jared could be right too.
Elvis Peguero.
Oh yes, that's what it was.
I just don't think going to probably the biggest stage in baseball is a cure for Andrew Heaney's ills, on the mound and stuff like that with New York fans. When you're playing in Angel Stadium where people leave at the seventh, but people are leaving by the 7th inning, and the rally monkey can't even get them off their feet for more than 10 seconds. So and one thing, Jared, whenever you ask that question, like, who was this that traded for this? My go-to tweet is always to Jared Timms. So
you're supposed to know that answer.
Yeah.
I got it, guys. I don't know
Peguero.
why I forgot Elvis Peguero, but Jansen Junk, Elvis Peguero, and Nate, to your point, before we let everybody go here, it would be like the Angels trading, and I forgot what we were talking about, Howie Kendrick trade. It'd be like the Angels trading Joe Adell for a pitcher, Zach Gallen type of thing. Like a pitcher who's been proven to be very, very good in a sense. That's kind of what it would be like right now. And then Zach Gallen come here and play well.
I was going to say trade for Reed Detmers.
Yeah, something like
where
that.
It's like, oh, he's pitched in the big leagues. He's shown signs of success, been a former top prospect, things like that. But, hasn't really shown to be the ace that the Angels were looking for at the time. John, also to answer your question, I think Heaney fits their mold. They don't like to face left-handed hitters in New York. So the more times that they can get righties in that ballpark, the better. So I think that was part of it as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, guys. Well, productive talk here tonight. Really like this podcast. I know we didn't have a lot to talk about, but I like going over these trades and talking about old trades, bringing up the past. I think it's a lot of fun to see, like who's won some of these old trades in a sense, and the players that were involved. And I think we forget, obviously with Jansen Junk and Elvis Peguero, we easily forget about the players, the younger players that were involved in these trades as well. So guys, as always, thank you so much for listening to this podcast and watching us if you're watching on YouTube. If you could subscribe to this podcast wherever you are listening to it or watching us. You can follow us on all of our social medias, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can follow myself on Twitter, Jared_Timms. You can follow Nate at NateCrane34 and John at Jags Crane. John and guys, thank you so much for listening and have a great rest of your day.